Today we are tasting our new arrival of spring Baozhong Cha from the Wenshan district in Taipei area. It's one of possibly the earliest lightly oxidized unroasted oolongs to be established as a tea type. And it's similar to what is now known as high mountain tea in terms of its oxidation level, but it also stands on its own because the leaves are not tightly rolled, which gives it a distinctive flavor profile, which in my experience and others that I've spoken to, tastes like high mountain tea when it's half processed, right after the kill green, when the cease oxidation happens in the leaves for making high mountain tea, but the leaves still contain about 30% of their moisture, and you brew those leaves at that stage, you get an incredibly fresh green combination of herbal and floral flavor notes that Baozhong, the magic of Baozhong is that it preserves that character, and it's agreed that the reason is due to not tightly rolling the leaves. So keeping them just slightly curled keeps the structure of the leaf and preserves a kind of fresh green character to it as a result. So today I brewed 10 grams of leaf in about a 200 milliliter pot, so about 1 to 20 leaf to water ratio for 1 minute, 50 seconds, and then 1 minute again to see how we do. I've let the tea cool down now. In brewing the leaves when they were warm or hot in the pot had an amazingly full aromatic profile of both herbal and floral. There was a lot of fresh herb kind of notes coming off, but definitely enough perfume to be floral as well. And the flavor matches what I experienced in the brewed leaves as they were brewing. The texture is very smooth, very soft, delicate but enough. It's substantial in its the flavor on the palate, and the first two words that come to mind are herbal and floral. Fresh herb, very fresh, like when you pick them out of the garden, the scent that comes from breaking them off the plant, that kind of intense flush of aromatic profile. I'm just going to go through it right away. Go to the second brew. A little more substantial, more balanced, well-rounded. Let's go back. Yeah, there's more complexity in the first brew, but it's a little lighter, not as thick of a mouthfeel. The second brew has a smoother texture of the water and a thicker mouthfeel, a little bit more balanced, a little bit more mild in its complexity. Still very herbal and really refreshing. We learned a couple of new things this year on our spring tea sourcing trip when we went up to the Taipei area to visit Mr. Wang, our friend now that we've sourced for several years. This batch is a combination of 2 different days of spring harvest. And he says that that's a regular practice of his, particularly in preparation for competition, where kind of by default or by nature, 1 day of harvest, that particular batch will be very aromatic, have great nose to it, but the water might be kind of on the weaker side, not very thick and balanced. And another batch will be a little flatter in its aromatic profile, but have a really nice thick mouthfeel. So what does he do? He mixes them together. And he said he used to try to get technical about it and work with ratios, but now he just goes half and half after determining which days would be a good match. And I believe I've heard that from his mouth before, but this time what was new is I got to taste the single batch and right next to the combo batch, the mixture of 2 different days harvest. And that was an educational experience. Our friend has also invested in his own sorting and de-stemming machine. It's a computerized machine that scans using coloration. I believe it's infrared, but I'm not sure about the coloration part. But it scans the leaves and can sort them based on how green or yellow they are. You can set the setting at various gradations and have it be very meticulous about it, or just whatever degree of separation you want there. So the competition grade batch, the singular days harvest, was set so that the leaves were incredibly uniform, the dried leaves and the brewed leaves. Especially the dried leaves are a little more indicative. And now today, opening this pack and brewing it on our own, I'm very pleasantly surprised at how uniform this mixed batch is, which was sorted less meticulously, you might say. So the setting was lower, it allowed for a little bit more yellowing in the leaves, but what I'm seeing now is yellowing of the stems. So there's a little bit more stem, but the stems are so small that it's my conviction personally that that's a plus. Stems have flavor. And when these leaves are the level of maturity, they're not really inhibiting the processing at all. The small stems, I believe, add complexity and substance of flavor. In terms of the brewed leaves, they're beautiful. The thickness, I don't know how he does it. This is like 700 or 800 meters elevation. The thickness of his leaves feel like lishan, they feel like 2,000 meter leaves. So there's another plus. This guy's got skills. I believe he's an exemplary farmer. He works with his resources in a way that the results he gets are consistently impressive. He has transitioned to machine harvesting because there are no pickers up in Taipei, not unless you want to pay an arm and a leg, and the scheduling of them is a nightmare, to put it bluntly but realistically. So the benefits of, and this is a whole separate topic on its own, but the benefits of machine harvesting is that you can schedule the harvest exactly when you want, including the time of day. You go out close to noon, a little before noon, and work until afternoon. You get the prime time of day when the plants are, the leaves have the most constituents in them based on a diurnal thing, between night and day. Noon is the ideal time. That's a across the board agreed upon point. And weather-wise, it rains a lot in Taipei. It's a very different climate than down here in central or south central Taiwan. And so he's allowed to determine his harvest and work by himself with 1 or 2 other assistants and harvest at his own will, which is a huge plus. So there it is. The first brew is definitely darker, and the second and third brews look lighter. It's an interesting assessment, but I felt like it was a thicker brew in the second brew especially. The third brew maintains the flavor profile. It hasn't gotten weak at all. There does seem to be a little more substance in the first brew, but there's more complexity. Now it's fully cooled down now. It's more delicate, which brings out a little more complexity in the nose. Play with it, see what you like in terms of ratio of leaf to water. Start with 1 to 20, 1 gram per 20 milliliters of water. And just, these leaves are hardy enough to handle it. It didn't get astringent at all. So You could let them sit in the bowl and do a bowl tasting. You could do grandpa style in a mug. You can go less ratio and get a much more refined and delicate profile. I tend to try to strike a balance between substance and complexity, have enough of a smooth mouthfeel. But the lighter you go, the more of the high notes you're going to get. That's a pretty across the board rule of thumb. And it really is part of the appreciation for tea to intentionally vary the brewing and experiencing each style of brewing for what it is, because there's a range of flavors that come out of it. Okay, there we have it. Spring 2020 Wenshan Baozhong in stock now. It's a good tea. This has been a good harvest. We bought a little more this year. Winter was super minimal. We ran out quickly, but we should be okay for at least a few months. Winter is several months away, and we only get spring and winter from this source. So if you want to make sure you get some, we recommend that you get it within the next couple of months. Thanks for being with us. And if you haven't already, please sign up for our newsletter so that you receive announcements of our new arrivals, along with a lot of other information and stories about the tea industry here in Taiwan that we continue to follow 20 years running. And please also like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel and share the video with anyone who might be interested. We also have a quarterly drawing for anyone who leaves a product review on our website. So if you get some tea and you want to leave comments about your experience of the tea, you can go to our website, click on that particular type of tea, and leave your comments in the product review section. And we have a quarterly drawing that the random winner will receive $50 credit for anything in our store. So if you're inspired to leave your comments on our product pages, you have a chance of getting $50 worth of free tea. Thanks for being with us, and we'll bring you more news about more spring tea real soon.